going to Kansas City. If I could, I could, I could, I could. I'm going to Kansas City.
Happy New Year, everybody. This is the first episode of Choppin' It Up with the Cleavers for 2023. I'm Emmanuel Cleaver III and glad to be back at it with my little bro. Tell him who you are.
You want to play games. I'm
Tell
Emil
him,
Cleaver.
Okay.
And I've
You're Emil Cleaver.
put this together, and I'm the one and only.
I've been out of commission for a while, but
Brother, man, nobody hear that.
hey, come on, man. I've been out of commission for a while, but
Come back playing
news-
games,
hey,
man. This
am I
is make
talking?
a good show.
I know. So be quiet.
This is do a good show.
Okay, be quiet. So the
Trying to take
Republicans.
the show to another level.
Hey, are we doing this? So the Republicans had a big fight over the Speaker of the House. They have the majority, and I think
So
it
a lot
took
has happened
15.
since the new year started.
Yeah. Okay. So we're jumping into it.
Okay, jump into it.
Yeah. So Kevin McCarthy, he was, everybody knew he was the one who was going to be elected Speaker of the House, but a lot of folk did not like him. And so people who are Democrats might say, oh, that's good that the Republicans are fighting. But I'll tell you why I think it's bad for everybody. Because you have the extreme right gaining power. And the problem is when you have the extremes leading the party, then there's no negotiation, there's no compromise. And so you have people on both extremes. But it was really the right extreme. They were like, Kevin McCarthy, he doesn't hate black people and minorities enough. That's basically why they wanted more from him. So I'm just of the belief that it could go downhill because he had to make some concessions in order to get elected. Crazy.
Civil War.
They didn't really like him. Because he's supposed to be a moderate, and so the extremes that hate everybody, like, man, you don't hate everybody enough, so we can't have you doing this. But anyway,
Congratulations to him.
We'll see.
Hopefully he does a good job. The country needs some good leaders.
Yeah.
Hopefully he does some good things.
Yeah. He didn't start off well. People don't have confidence in him. That's to have that many votes just says that people don't have confidence, which also means he had to do some backroom deals. So that's the scary thing. We don't know what kind of deals he made. He might have said, Marjorie Greene Taylor, hey, we're going to give you a lot of power. We're going to put you on the anti-black committee that we're creating just for you.
He didn't do anything that no one else has ever done.
That's true too. But he had to deal with the extremes. That's the difference. Well, maybe not.
No,
Because on the left,
there's no difference.
You have the extremes on the left.
Yeah, there's no difference.
But the thing is, if you have the extremes on the left and the extreme on the right, you're never going to get anything done. It's those who are somewhere close to the middle, whether you're left of center or right of center. People who understand that negotiate. The very nature of politics means you have to negotiate. There is compromise. Otherwise, it's just bogarting. It's just ruling. It's just taking it over.
Well, he must have compromised. He was elected.
Oh yeah, no question he compromised. So
he was being a good politician.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't destroy the country.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Hopefully not. Hopefully he won't destroy. But it'll be interesting these next few weeks to see what happens. The other news, or I guess thing to talk about, it's been going on for a while, so it's nothing new. And that's simply the violence that we see around hip hop.
Yeah, since our last show, Tory Lanez, hip hop artist, was found guilty of shooting Megan Thee Stallion, hip hop superstar, in the foot. And he's
20 years?
Facing possibly 20 years.
But
So I mean, but the drama in that courtroom, I mean, that's something else. The drama
Really?
behind
Was there a lot
all of
drama?
that.
I didn't even watch what happened.
Yeah, I mean, because apparently, I guess Tory Lanez was, he was sleeping with Megan and Megan's best friend. Those were the three people in the truck. Some people thought that Megan's best friend was the one that shot her. Some people thought Megan shot herself. A lot of people still believe Tory is innocent. A lot of his fans.
Didn't it say it was something like an accident?
No, I don't know if it was an accident. They were drunk. And I don't know if they were fighting. Megan is bigger than him. He's a short guy. Yeah, he's like real short. Okay. And he may have been whooping her. She may have been whooping him. I don't know.
So he needed some help.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it was that way, but he may have thought that it was going to go down like that, and before it went down like that. But anyway, yeah, a man shooting a woman, take off from Migos. The guy that was charged with his murder is free on bond.
Like
paid $1 million. So, we'll see what happens. So obviously he has money, or somebody behind him has money, and that's a whole situation.
So you got, but
then the other day, I mean, we're talking about violence in hip hop. The other day, Meek Mill was getting into it with the boxer. Meek Mill just got off probation.
At Gervonta Davis's fight.
Well, he wasn't. Yeah, Gervonta Davis's fight Saturday. But yeah, he just got off probation, and he's supposed to be out here promoting prison reform, but he's out here.
Well, he walked away. He left when it got heated,
but it shouldn't have got heated.
But you don't know what happened on the. It could have been defense. He could have been defending himself, but before it got violent, he walked away.
Yeah, I mean, from what the situation says, he both sides led the argument, got the argument up. They were just arguing because one person was cheering for Gervonta, which was Meek, and the other guy was cheering for his opponent.
Garcia.
So, but anyway, I mean, that just goes to show more violence in hip hop, and a lot of these boxers are connected. Shakur Stevenson was at the murder of Takeoff.
Yeah. So, but then just going down the whole list. So you got Jam Master Jay, you got Nipsey Hussle. Of course, most people know about Tupac and Biggie, but it's a lot more than them. Then who was I forgot his name, Eminem's boy who got shot in Detroit.
Proof.
So I guess people who aren't really into hip hop might ask the question, or they might assume the answer: why is there so much violence surrounded?
There's a show. Vance, whatever he used to be on TMZ. He confronted Kanye, the black guy that confronted.
Oh yeah.
Kanye. He has a show, Hip Hop Murders, and he goes through and talking about unsolved murders. He did Slim Soldier, Extension, who was murdered recently. I mean, there's a lot of hip hop artists being murdered within the last few years, more than normal recently.
Normal. That's a sad statement to say normal. Like hip hop artists being killed is a normal thing. But I mean it's been happening for a while. So I'm sure a lot of people would just automatically say, well, it's violence because they talk about violence, and so
I think that has something to do with it.
Yes, I mean it's more than that. But if you're not really into it, you're not into the culture, into the music or anything, you just say, well, they talk about it, so that's what happens. That's what they do. They live that lifestyle.
No, obviously that's not everybody, but yeah, I mean, it seems to be happening lately with a lot of the mainstream artists being murdered. I guess that's what I said, meant by more than normal. Tupac and Biggie were the biggest artists murdered in the 90s. I think Big L was in the 2000s. Proof was in the 2000s. But in the 90s, Scott LaRock was in the 80s. So in the 90s, the biggest were Tupac and Biggie. But now, it's happening more and more often. In the 2020s, There's probably a half a dozen, almost even maybe a dozen mainstream rappers who have been murdered.
So if it's not just the lyrics, then what?
It is. I mean, I
know
think
you
the
said
lyrics
that's part of it,
has
yes.
a lot to do with it. I mean, that's the common denominators that these rappers all rap about: violence and selling drugs and violence. Op music is what a lot of them call it. I mean, that's when you're talking about going against your oppositions, your opponents. So I mean that has a lot to do with it.
I guess it carry. I mean, yeah, over the years, it's also a lot of drug money connected to some of these rap labels.
Yeah.
And our drug dealers connected. Maybe not even the money. The whole thing with Murder Inc. back in the day. For those that don't know, Murder Inc. That was Irv Gotti, and he had some big artists.
Ja Rule was the artist.
Ashanti. Yeah, Ashanti, and but he produced for more than them. But those were the two big artists that were selling everything. But of course, he went to trial because they were saying that Murder Inc., which they later changed the name, which I mean it was a smart thing, but they were connecting him with the drug ring. So a lot. I mean, that's
a big drug ring. I mean,
but I mean, not a small time.
Yeah, I mean, and that goes to, and it's not his fault. He was innocent, but I mean, he named his label Murder Inc. But here's the rappers that have been killed, in the last few years. 2018, XXXTentacion, he was murdered. Nipsey Hussle in 2019. These are mainstream rappers. Pop Smoke in 2020. King Von in 2020. Young Dolph in 2021. P&B Rock in 2022. These are just the mainstream ones. There's a lot of other, underground rappers who were murdered during this time, but these are mainstream rappers who have been murdered in the last few years. So it's just picking up. And if we went up with the, more of the underground rappers, I couldn't even name all of them.
No, it's a lot. And then some of them, I forgot the guy who committed the murder, then wrote a song about it. And
I don't know. A lot of them do that. That's op music.
But that was he wasn't a big name.
Young Thug is on trial for conspiracy, murder, and RICO, and all types of stuff. He had a plot to kill Lil Wayne, supposedly. I mean, that trial has just started. A lot of the people in it have taken a plea, so I think he's going to be in trouble.
I think you could look at a lot of these athletes who get millions of dollars early on, and then they get into a lot of trouble. One, because they're still rolling with their people from wherever they came from, and end up getting in a lot of trouble. So I mean, I see the same thing. It's like just because they have money, just because they have fame and fortune, doesn't necessarily mean, not all of them necessarily lead that lifestyle. Some do. I mean, some of the biggest and smartest, you have people like Jay-Z and Nas and some others.
Ice Cube, Eminem. I mean, they've done a lot with their business. I mean,
but I'm talking about
Ice Cube, Snoop,
who came out of that sort of lifestyle. Cube didn't necessarily
Snoop.
come in. Eminem.
No. Eminem didn't.
I'm talking about Jay-Z, Nas, Snoop did, and a bunch of others. Take what they learned in that business and use it into legal business. So, but yes, I mean, it's a sad thing because you got all these talented folk who finally doing something, making something, a name for themselves legally, but that lifestyle, I mean, it follows them.
That's
50 Cent.
Part of,
50 Cent. That's how he really, before he had anything, it was like this dude, 50 Cent, he's been shot 9 times. Next thing you know,
the story.
he drops.
But I mean, that's just part of black culture. We can't even. I mean, it's hip hop culture. It's in hip hop culture, but it's part of black culture. I mean, black murder in the black community is pretty bad. I mean, I don't know what the final count for 2022 was, but
In Kansas City, or
in Kansas City.
Yeah.
I mean, nationwide. I don't.
I know there
can't
were
even count that high.
There were 500 people got shot who didn't die in Kansas City. So I don't know how many people actually were killed. I know it's of course over 100. But yeah, so we talk about it's the culture. You know, if you say that around the wrong people, black folk get mad at you for saying stuff like that.
Yeah, black on black crime. You can't say that. Well, they're talking about white on white crime. Well, we're talking about the black community right now. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not part of the whole culture, but it is, you know, there is a certain part of black culture, unfortunately,
But yeah, I
that
mean,
has no remorse for human lives.
So, I mean, you are right. Yeah, we can't sit here and say that, you know, it's all peaceful in the black neighborhoods in Kansas City, Little Rock, Memphis, Los Angeles. But you also have to talk about the cause, the systemic cause of it. So when you have a poor educational system, lack of opportunity, and your skin color is your third strike against you, I mean, what else do you turn to? You turn to life. So you look at the people in your neighborhood who are doing well. The people in the neighborhood are doing well aren't doing it legally. So that's who you look up to.
Most of them.
Yeah. I'm talking about like in some of those high crime
neighborhoods.
areas.
Yeah, I guess the people that are doing well, they move to Lee Summit.
Not all. I mean, some stay in the city. So I've heard several people say that's why our neighborhoods got like that. So the people, the attorneys, engineers, pastors, teachers, once they, you know, got what they were making, they moved out of those neighborhoods, leaving only the poorest people in the neighborhood. So is one of the causes, or would you say a major cause of some of the violence and crime in our neighborhoods is because the middle income folk moved out of our neighborhoods?
I mean, that has something to do with it, you know. I think the lack of opportunity is the number one reason. You know, there's no opportunity for people to make money. So if you can't make money legally, you're gonna make money another way. If you're making money legally, you know, the money is so minuscule, is so little. You know, you need to do something else to provide. And then you see over here, Ray Ray is over here making a lot of money.
Yeah.
So you wanna go hang with him. So I mean that has something to do with it. Yeah, I mean, but definitely people moving to a different neighborhood, moving out.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's it. Okay, so you have these role models that kids are growing up.
I mean,
They're not able to see them.
Yeah,
they don't see them every day.
They don't see them.
So
they don't see the people going to work wearing a suit.
Yeah. So they don't see what they can become. That's a part of it. They don't know what they can become because they don't see it. They don't interact with it. But they see somebody, you know, selling drugs. They can see, I can become that. I see him. I know him. But I mean,
and a lot of these rappers are growing up in these neighborhoods, and
yeah, I remember
that's just what they're talking about.
Years ago, Ice-T, I think it was on Arsenio Hall. This was years ago, and he was talking about one of these journalists writing something bad about a hip hop artist. And Ice-T, you know, I'm sort of paraphrasing the conversation. He was like, you know, need to be careful because most of these rappers will punch you in the eye when they see you. The rest of them might be like Will Smith. Of course, the audience started laughing. I mean, I don't think he meant it as a diss. He was just like, you know, a lot of these artists, they come up in an era, in a place where, you know, if they have a disagreement, you know, they don't take it to court. They can take it to the streets.
And that's one of the things with social media now. Now you have rappers who taunt other rappers on social media. So I mean that leads to a lot of violence. I mean, they're taunting, and then you're on social media wearing $100,000 worth of gold jewelry. You have, you know, $100,000 in your bag that you had to carry around cash, and then you're pinging, whatever. I don't know how they find you. That you're putting on Instagram or whatever it is, TikTok, that you're at this spot, and people who are hungry, whose ribs are touching, see that and like, man, let's go get this dude. So, I mean, that's another thing. A lot of black people, we don't have a lot. And then when one person comes out and has a lot and is showing everybody what he has and what we don't, a lot of people are jealous of that. That's the crabs in the barrel, crabs in the bucket, whatever you want to call it, syndrome.
Yeah. I mean, but there's a syndrome when you feel the need that you have to flash designer stuff. I mean,
that's in the DNA. Some people could say. I mean, back in ancient Egypt, they were wearing all this jewelry and gold and all of that. So I mean, black people for thousands and thousands of years have been doing this. This is nothing new, So I mean, it may be in our DNA to some degree.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know all of us aren't from Egypt, though.
Disagree with that, yeah.
But
yeah, I mean that would have been
Egyptians
stuff worn by royalty.
Yeah, and when people get money, they want to think that they're royalty. Instead of buying $100,000 chain, you might want to invest that in some stocks or buy a house or something like that.
That's the difference between ancient times that you're talking about and today. So if somebody, the price of gold didn't go down. I mean, it was gold. So today, I mean, you go buy a gold chain for whatever, you buy it for $10,000. I don't even know what it costs.
Yeah, they don't even wear gold chains. I think it's
platinum
more like
or whatever.
I don't know.
Well, you wear some $10,000 glasses.
$10,000 for some glasses?
Man, come on. The moment you take it out of the store, it's not worth $10,000 anymore. That's my point. So that's the difference from ancient time. I mean, they didn't have the same currency system that we have. So I think when we talk about flash and fashion, designer clothes and all of that, we also have to understand that we may not understand how money works. I mean, it's always funny to me when I meet somebody and for some strange reason they want to ask what kind of car I drive. What?
People ask you that?
What does that have to do with anything?
Nobody asks you that.
I'm telling you.
People ask you what kind of car you drive?
That's not something that happens every day because people want to know, are you driving a Lexus or whatever?
And then when you tell them that you're not, are they disappointed?
You're like, yeah.
Oh, man, that's what you drive?
Yeah. I remember I went to this one church. I was preaching, and the pastor there, St. James is probably 5 times bigger than this church. But the pastor had a Mercedes, and it was when I first started off at St. James, and one of the members like, yeah, you keep preaching like the way you preach today, you might be able to get you a Mercedes. I was like, man, I can get one now if I wanted to. I just choose not to waste my money like that. But I mean, if you got a Mercedes, that's cool. But I think.
Were you thinking about robbing him?
Robbing the pastor?
Yeah, for his Mercedes.
No, I didn't want a Mercedes.
Like Cain did on Menace to Society.
He had an old Mercedes. I had a brand new. Man. I have a brand new Ford.
He had an old Mercedes bragging on an old Mercedes.
It wasn't him. It was one of his members that was bragging. Like, yeah, if you keep preaching like you did today, you can have one of those. So it wasn't the pastor.
Oh.
It was a member. Which I don't understand, because when a pastor drives something like that, you're talking about, oh, he must be stealing money. When you don't drive one like that, you're like, hey, well, you need to be driving something like that.
Come on, that's how you get the power in this country. And if we wanted to be popular, we just had to present ourselves as rich.
Hey, America, we are
rich. Our next show, we're going to show how rich we are. We're just been pretending like we're not.
Yeah, these glasses really did cost $5,000.
$10,000.
$10,000. Yeah, I dropped cash. I don't even remember. But I think you talk about the violence coming to hip hop because of the community a lot of these artists grew up in. But to me, it boils down to, I mean, yeah, you talk about lack of education or lack of opportunity because of your skin color. But to me, the educational system, it is flawed in the United States. We have a very unfair, unequal, flawed educational system.
They're closing down, I don't know how many schools in Kansas City.
In the inner city.
I mean, my thing is, where are the kids going to go to school? If they're closed, I guess they're going to the charter schools.
A lot
of these charter schools are losing accreditation. I was listening to KCUR the other day. One of these charter schools I used to work there. They're losing accreditation.
Man, there's some of these charter schools that have people teaching that don't have college degrees.
I know.
You know?
Yeah, I know.
That's how are you going to be a teacher and you haven't been trained to teach? I mean, so these schools are closing so that means that a lot of these charter schools, and then you're going to jam pack these schools. But the whole system, I mean, because schools are based on property taxes. So if you live in a poor neighborhood, property taxes aren't going to be high. And then what happens? It happens in Kansas City. I guarantee it happens in cities all over. To get big businesses to move into the city, what do? They give them tax breaks, which means the schools aren't getting paid from that. It's happened here. It's been happening here, but it happens all over. So I think just the lack of education also plays a huge factor in creating the environment where there's hopelessness. And so you figure, hey, I either have a wicked jump shot, slang some dope. They probably don't say slang dope anymore. Or entertainment. And those are the three options that people see. And so when they do make it, you get a rap deal, you're on TV, you still living that lifestyle.
A lot of the rappers are, you hear it in the music, the song is just about being mad at other black people. Man, it is. It is. I mean, they're just the anger. I wish this, man, and I'm doing this to all these other, and if they do this, I'm going to do this. I wish they would. We doing this over here. And if y'all mess with this over here, murder. Yeah. I mean, that's what the music is about. Not all of it, obviously.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good music, but I mean, that's just part of the culture. That's just part of the culture. Well, unfortunately, it's a small. I don't even know. Is it a small part or is it a big part?
The violence.
Yeah, of hip hop.
I don't know. I wouldn't say big or small, but it's a part of it.
Well,
it's a part of it. Yeah, it's a part of it.
I would unfortunately say it's a big part.
Yeah.
At this point, it's a
big part. Do you remember back in the day when rappers started going on tour, and all the violence that happened at those
concerts? Yeah,
man. First time I ever saw somebody getting shot at was at a Run DMC concert at Kemper Arena. We walked out, and a dude is shooting at another man. I'm watching this. What 14?
Yeah,
and he was missing. Fortunately, he was missing the dude. Dude was running.
Yeah, he was running.
Yeah, and he was missing. I was like, man. It's crazy. And then we had to go walk to our car.
Well, everybody else did too. It's not like,
But I'm like,
everybody was running to their car. They weren't really walking.
Yeah, but it is. I mean, it's definitely.
And Run DMC was. I mean, they were a rated PG-13 group. I mean, they weren't even talking about violence or anything like that.
But I think didn't Run dot somebody up for running up on stage.
Yeah, I mean, he's
just
protecting himself.
No, I can't get mad at that.
Yeah, he's just protecting himself.
So Run DMC wasn't the group that talked about that yet, but the music, even when it's not talking about drugs and thugging and all that.
Yeah, generally, the backpack rappers don't have this sort of.
A lot of people don't know what backpack rappers are.
Yeah, a lot of the rappers that don't talk about the street stuff, usually don't have these issues.
Right. No.
I mean, you don't hear a lot about Yasin Bey, getting into it and having a shootout,
or Talib Kweli,
or Little Brothers having a shootout, or people like that. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen everywhere in hip hop.
I was gonna say Will Smith, but that might
Yeah,
be a
Will
little
Smith.
different now.
Yeah, Will Smith does smack people though.
Yeah, he doesn't shoot out, but he will smack you.
Yeah, he used to get in Dana White's slap league.
Dana White. So, for those who don't know, Dana White is the president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship,
The UFC.
UFC. So they see UFC, they don't know what it stands for. People. So he got into a little slap fest with his wife. It wasn't brutal.
Nah,
You've seen the video.
Both of them were light. No, I'm sure
Yeah.
most of our fans, the people that watch this, don't know who
There might
Dana
be a
White
few,
is.
Yeah, I'm sure there are a few. But
He was
yeah.
having a slap league. He was going to have a slap league.
No, this is the real league.
Yeah, this is
If
real.
you've seen it, a real
Two
league.
people stand. One person stands over there. One person stands over there. You put your hands down and you smack the other person, and people go unconscious. He gets back up, and he gets a turn, and whoever slaps the hardest, wins. And so Dana White, who blew the UFC up, was about to have his slap league on TBS. It was about to he's about to bring it national. I mean, it's still going on. But once the video came out of him slapping his wife slapped him first. They were at a club on New Year's Eve in
Both
Cabo.
drunk.
The liquor was flowing, as TMZ was saying, trying to give him an out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she slapped him, and then he slapped her. TBS canceled the slap league. I mean, that's ironic. You can't even beat. I mean, there's nothing more ironic than that. The man who was starting a slap league had his slap league pulled from the air because he slapped his wife.
But you hear what Oscar De La Hoya said. Oscar De La Hoya, a Hall of Fame boxer,
hates Dana White.
They hate each other. So Oscar De La Hoya said something to the effect Dana White should get the bonus for the best slap in his new slap league. I was like, man.
I hope those slappers don't get paid more than the UFC fighters.
That's crazy if they do. To me, it's a dumb thing just to let them slap you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not defending yourself.
It's a
you're just letting them
stupid thing to do. I wouldn't
slap
even
you.
watch it. I mean, I've seen highlights of it.
I can't watch that.
But for some reason, ESPN, which the UFC is on, has a contract with, has been really silent about this Dana White slap. And they've been called on it by D.L. Hughley, who wants to know why
mainstream media doesn't seem to be covering
doesn't seem to be covering this
big.
multi-billion-dollar organization where the president slapped his wife on video, where no other athlete, black athlete for sure, would have gotten away with that. I mean,
Let Steph Curry slap his wife.
Yeah.
LeBron James slap his wife. You would hear about it nonstop, and you can
even
say,
if it was as light as Dana White,
Right,
I mean,
right.
not trying to give him an excuse. I mean, but they both slapped each other, kind of like it was.
Dana White is white. If you didn't know.
Of course, they know.
So, but yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's a tough one, and you might say, well, Dana White's not that popular.
Yes, he is.
He's very popular all over the world. The UFC is huge all over the world.
All over the world, they have fighters from
all over the world. So to say he's not popular is completely untrue.
And ESPN has been silent about it. I mean, they've made a few statements, but he's pretty much gone on with his life. Where most people, I don't even know if most white people would get away with it. I don't think if Peyton Manning slapped his wife, it would go over like that. I think because he's not a mainstream personality, and the UFC isn't. I mean, even though it's huge, it's still not mainstream. Most people don't know the stars in the UFC except for Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey. But yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons. He's the president. He's extremely powerful, extremely powerful. So
in Vegas. So yeah, ESPN doesn't want to lose out on money. So of course they're not going to do anything. but it is very ironic. And we talk about violence in hip hop. You could probably talk about violence among UFC
UFC fighters.
One fighter just got charged with
murder. Phil Baroni.
In Mexico. Yeah, in Mexico.
Phil Baroni. I hate to say it, but I'm not surprised. If you remember Phil Baroni, did you watch UFC back?
Yeah.
Well, he was in more than UFC, but yeah, he was a crazy dude. He was a crazy dude. I hate to say it, but yeah, when they said Phil Baroni charged with murder,
It's a lot of them. What's the guy who used to fight in Bellator?
He beat the hell out of his wife.
Man.
Not the Beastmaster.
He had a crazy nickname.
Yeah, the War Machine.
Yeah, War Machine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you name yourself, well, he's a fighter.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of violence in the world today, it seems like, not just in hip hop,
Well, it's, what do all those people have in common? They come from the United States. And the United States is a violent country because this land was taken
violently.
And then the land was built, the country was built off the backs of slaves because of the threat of violence.
Not the threat, the violence.
There was violence. I'm talking about, they were beat on Tuesdays.
Yeah, there was violence. There was built on violence.
That's why you're working, because there's the threat. Man, that's the third time in a row on a show the phone goes off.
Man, people need to get in touch with me. This is probably an important call, but I'm going to take it later.
Yeah. People your age don't know how to work phones. They don't know this thing called vibrate. Anyway, it's just a violent country. So people can beat up talk about hip hop, but if you want to solve the violence in hip hop, you got to solve America's problem. And one of the things, America's original sin that it's never dealt with is racism against the indigenous population, against Africans.
Not making an excuse, but the indigenous populations, they do have casinos where they can make a lot of money
they're not making the money. That ain't nothing, man.
No, that's not an excuse. They should have more. I was trying to make a point that the Asians got their reparations to some extent.
Japanese did.
Japanese, yeah. Well, they are Asian, but Japanese, yeah. I think every group, even the Jews, got reparations for the Holocaust, but black, Negro, slave Americans did not get any sort of reparations, none whatsoever.
We got an apology, from a few folk.
And we have to add, the little casinos is nothing for the natives. I mean, they live on unmanageable land.
Yeah, we took a lot, and then you talk about Hawaii.
Yeah,
we United States took Hawaii. It basically
much.
Just took it.
Yes, they had a queen or somewhere.
Yeah, they had for the first time. So all the tribes, when I went there, that we did the history and we toured around Maui. So all these islands had their own, tribes, kings, rulers, and they fought. And then finally, after so many years, centuries, they came together and they were united. And once they were united, that's when the Europeans and the Americans came. And it was all over after that. We just took
We want this. Man, this place, nah, y'all can't have this.
Come on, man. You go see that. Ain't no way the United States going to allow them to have that.
I don't think so. We about to take this from y'all.
It's like so we got the U.S. Virgin Islands, we got the British Virgin Islands. Like, we just can't, we ain't going to let y'all have that. This is too nice.
Taking everything.
This territory is too nice, so we just, it's ours.
Racism. One of the upcoming shows, we're going to have to tell our story of racism. That's going to be a special episode.
You want to hear the story
of racism? Maybe we'll do it in song form. No, we won't.
Yeah.
But.
So again, let me just say, you want to solve the problem with violence in hip hop, you really got to solve America's problem with violence. And it begins with addressing the original sin. Hey, man, what are you touching me for?
I'm saying what that is. I see. I'm not going to.
Come on, man.
I'm going with your life.
Yeah, but you still don't touch me.
I do whatever I want.
That's crazy. America got to solve its racism problem. So This show,
Yeah, just like that.
yeah,
Solve it.
yeah, but we got to move on. So I mean, yeah,
We're going to be talking about racism so much this year that
Why?
if you're a racist, you're not going to want to watch this show.
why are we going to talk about racism so much?
Because you just said they need to solve the problem, and we need to. That's
the answer.
That's going to be our show. We want to end racism. This show is the chief theme of this show is to end racism in America.
And one easy way, or one big start to make that happen is if you appoint us, Joe Biden, as overseers of anti-racism in this country. Now it can get hectic. You're gonna have to give some permission, because some people they'll be involuntarily placed in slap leagues in order to help them understand racism and race.
Yeah.
So some things coming up, but the top 5 for this show, since we did a lot of talking about hip hop, thought we'd name the best voices in hip hop. So we're not talking about songs necessarily. We're not talking about lyrics. We're not talking about necessarily style, how people rhyme. Talking about just the voice, like a silky smooth voice that captures your attention, hypnotic voice. And there's some folk, there's a lot of great rappers that don't have, what I would call the greatest voices. I'm talking about a voice where you hear like, man, for people who speak for a living, like, man, I wish I had a voice like that. So the top voices, as we see it in hip hop, who's going first?
You.
All right. Number 5, and I didn't even bring my list, so I'm going off the top of the dome. Number 5, I'm gonna go with MC Lyte. MC Lyte, you remember her from back in the day?
Yeah, I remember. Are you talking
I know. Come on, man. I hope you remember. She probably the second greatest female rapper of all time. But her voice is it's so crisp and clear. She does the voice on a lot of these award shows now. So you hear her a lot of BET awards. Let me say that, and deservedly so, because she just has that voice that comes through loud and clear. So I have MC Lyte. Number 4 on the list. I'm trying to go off remember what I said if I had this person. Number 4, number 3. But number 4, I'm gonna say Scarface, Brad Action, from the group
Ghetto Boys.
Ghetto Boys. And so Scarface was, he just had that powerful voice that you knew when he was rapping, okay, that's Scarface. You might not know the song. I'm talking about if you're a hip hop fan. If you might not know the song, you might be your first time hearing it, but you hear Scarface, you're like, okay, yeah, that's Scarface rapping. Number 3, I have, it's mostly the voice that gets you up. It's mostly the voice that makes you buck. Guru, Gifted, Unlimited, Rhymes Universal. Guru, even from the group Gangstar, even had a song called It's Mostly the Voice, where he's saying the reason why people listen to him is mostly the voice. Now, I disagree, because the songs were hot.
Yeah, one of the
lyrics,
best producers of all time, of course. People gonna
best
listen
producer.
to that.
The lyrics were nice, but he did have a nice voice. That was another rapper. You hear Guru, okay, that's Guru rapping. Number 2 on the list, I have Ice Cube. Ice Cube, to me, is somewhat, he and Scarface are similar. They just have that powerful voice where you hear him. It comes through loud and clear. Ice Cube and Scarface and Guru, but Ice Cube just has that voice that was made for rapping. And number 1 to me it was the easy. When I was thinking of the list, I knew who was number 1. And to me, number 1 is Tupac. I remember when the song Pain came out. I think it was on the Above the Rim soundtrack. And I remember being in Atlanta, me and T, my old roommate, Theron Cosby, rest his soul. We listened to that first song. We were both had the same response. Like, he is hypnotizing us with that voice. He just had that voice that draws
nice
you
beat
in.
too.
Yeah, it was a nice beat. It was a nice song. But he just had that voice that kind of mesmerized you, like you're still and you're listening to him. So that's my list. Tupac, number one. I think he has the best voice. There's some others that I'm going to name, but I'll wait for your list.
All right, number 5, I'm going to have Guru on there too. I mean, he did have a silky smooth voice.
Raspy voice.
Freestyle. I mean, he had a voice. He had the voice that caught your attention. I mean, and that helped the group. Premier made some nice beats. Guru had a nice voice to go with it, along with the lyrics. So
they had the full package. Gangstar had the full package.
One of the greatest groups of all time. But yeah, Guru had that voice. Number 4, I just erased my list. But number 4, I'm gonna have Ice Cube. Ice Cube had a powerful voice. He came off first on NWA a lot, and that voice just captured. Yeah, I mean, he just F the Police, straight out of Compton. I mean, he came out, and then when he went solo, yeah, he really got to use his voice. But his voice captures you. So yeah, I got to put Ice Cube in there, one of the greatest rappers of all time. If you ask me.
Absolutely.
So number 3, I got to go with the B.I.G. Biggie Smalls, Notorious B.I.G. His voice, you talking about a mesmerizing voice. And one of the songs, even when he first came out, I love it when they call me Big Papa. I mean, yeah, that voice was hypnotic. But I'm gonna tell you, one of the songs that really got me, I was in with a group of people, me, Twan, I think Troy, Juice, maybe somebody else. We were down in Bourne's basement listening to Biggie's album just came out. And when that song, Me and My B, I mean, I know it's a hardcore street song, but that song it mesmerized me. I mean, that was a song that mesmerized me. One of the greatest hip-hop love songs of all time by Biggie Smalls. Number 2, I got to go with one of the greatest rap groups. Some people would say they are the greatest rap groups. Public Enemy frontman Chuck D.
Absolutely. Yes, we urged to merge.
He had it
for the love of our people.
And he was on the radio. He started out on the radio. So that was one of the reasons. And he started out on the radio when you had to have a good voice.
Right.
So, I mean.
Yeah, you don't have to do that now.
Yeah, so, I mean.
You sound like this on the radio, man.
Yeah, so, he had that voice, powerful voice, strong voice. He has one of those voices that could do voiceovers or whatever.
Yeah, he should be doing more. He could.
Yeah. So number 1 to me was an obvious choice. To me, the greatest sounding voice in hip hop is Snoop. Yeah. One of the most popular rappers to ever walk the planet. His voice is silky smooth. Yeah. The smoothest voice.
He's on my honorable mention.
And even when he on this new album with Mount Westmore, I mean, when he's coming in at the end, usually he's coming in at the end, his voice caps it off. It doesn't even matter what he's saying. His voice sounds so good.
I think I had him in like number 4 in my original list. I was going off the head. But yeah, Snoop no question. No question.
Another honorable mentions, Ludacris, who started out on the radio, had a great voice. Anybody, Chubb Rock.
Yeah, Chubb Rock
had a great voice.
Big Daddy Kane.
Yeah.
Big Daddy Kane
has a nice, strong voice.
Yeah. But yeah, I was going. Yeah, Snoop and I think he was in one of my top 5s when I wrote it down. But Chuck D definitely, I have him honorable mention. Big Daddy Kane. There's some others out there.
Melly Mel.
Oh yeah,
Melly Mel.
I don't know how I forgot that one.
Yeah, Melly Mel.
Yeah.
He has
I might have to rethink my top 5.
He has
Melly
a great
Mel.
voice. Yeah, he probably might be in that top 5. You know, these top 5s are hard to do, and sometimes they change.
Yeah.
You know, you start thinking about stuff, listening to stuff, or watching the show over again, and your top 5 changes. But yeah, Melly Mel, he could easily be in anybody's top 5. Number one.
Yeah, no,
He could be somebody's number one.
Absolutely. So put you on the spot. So name some female rappers.
I would say MC Light, maybe number one. Probably Lauryn.
Yeah,
Lauryn Hill, but I would have to say, for real, Lil' Kim and Foxy Brown.
I was thinking Foxy Brown.
Yeah, I mean, even though
You may not like what they talked about,
Yeah,
but
but they
both of them could rap.
Yeah.
I think if you did a top 5, if I did a top 5, it'd be hard not to put Lil' Kim in there. In terms of best female rappers, it'd be hard.
Yeah.
Hard not to put her in there. But yeah, she and Foxy Brown both have that voice. Bahamadia is smooth.
Yeah,
a lot of folks not gonna know her.
She was smooth with her word. Going off the subject real quick. Lady of Rage, Daz, Corrupt, and RBX have a new album out.
So Lady Rage finally gonna get an album.
No, they have.
I know it's a group. I know
Yeah.
it's a group, but when
I thought she did at least get one album out. Then after she left Death Row, she put out an album. Yeah, Death Row, she never got an album. But yeah, I guess since Mount Westmore is doing that, that's the perfect group to open up for them.
So is Mount West? Well, you may not know this. Is that Death Row? Mount Westmore? Are they doing that under Death Row?
Yeah, they're under a few different labels.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They all have their own labels. So Death Row is one of the labels. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's first show of the year. Let us know what you think. Let us know.
We didn't get a chance to talk about that sissy ass Harry Prince. I ain't even gonna call him a Prince. Harry, my brother pushed me down, and I didn't know
because he wasn't expecting it, man. They're arguing.
Ev came at you with a bat. Did you go crying to the people?
He didn't say he came at him with a bat, did he?
Evan Cleaver,
I know,
came at you with the bat.
Right.
Did you go crying to people about it?
No.
Okay.
But they come from a different
man.
Nah, come from
this dude is soft. This dude is soft.
They come from
this dude is soft.
No.
This dude is soft.
No, remember him.
No,
we come from a violent place where you handle your business. Where when his brother pushed him down, you get back.
Man, I talked to a lot of people's brothers, and they were like, "Man, that's nothing. You gonna let him push you down? You ain't gonna do nothing."
It's because he didn't grow up. He went to private schools, man.
Soft.
He grew up in the palace.
He's trying to get people to feel sorry for him. We should have talked about this then. I thought you were going to be jumping in talking about Harry was soft.
No.
Man, he's soft.
No.
Harry, you're soft.
Man, it's a different thing. He didn't want. What he
push you down? You gonna
listen? But his brother's
stop pushing me down.
His brother's the future king, man.
Yeah, but he wasn't the king then.
But he's still.
Man, you got up and slapped
If you grew up.
Nah, you get to slap him.
Listen.
Listen. Man, what you doing?
If you grow up.
Who falls down from a push? Tell the truth.
If he wasn't expecting it.
Nah, man, okay. We should have talked about this. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
He could have tripped over a chair.
Prince Harry wrote a book, in case y'all don't know, talking about his brother pushed him and he fell down and he started crying and he ran off like Marcia Brady.
He got a scar on his back, too. If you don't grow up wrestling, you don't grow up fighting, and you grow up in the palace where they teach you do everything decent his brother apologized for it.
But how did he learn how to push?
I don't know.
Okay. They were both in the military, so that's what unexcusable.
But they grew, if you listen, they grew apart. They lived different lives.
Okay.
One was training.
Was
training to be a king. The other one was training to never be the king.
So why did the one who's training to be the king?
So I'm just saying they live different lifestyles.
Have a push. Man. How does he know how to push? And the guy who was in the military killing people in the military all of a sudden can't.
I thought when you talk about Harry, I thought you would talk about the racism in the family. Like he's like,
man, I don't care about the racism in their family. Why do I care about the racism in their family?
But what if you watched him on 60 Minutes? He also talked about.
Watch this cry, baby, no more.
Listen, but he also talked about the racism in the British press. So you talk about.
I'm surprised.
I'm surprised. I'm not saying you're supposed to be surprised. What I'm saying, I'm just saying.
Okay.
You want him to sock dude.
Yeah.
You want there to be violence in the royal house.
His brother pushed him
Prince
down.
Harry shoots his
I want
brother
to
William.
Man, come on. You taking it to extreme.
Man.
Talk to somebody who has a brother.
But you didn't grow up like man. And whoever I talked to, none of them grew up like them.
Okay.
None of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a brother or sister, I'm sure you had a fight with them and you didn't go crying and run off like Marsha Brady telling the world, he pushed me down, feel sorry for me. Anyway, we got to go. Let's get
Check us
out.
out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. Check us out most places you get your podcast.
Peace.
I'm a modest